Now, you've been absolutely spoiled this week with training video montages, and now we're going to do a wee cooking segment as well. Now, you'll probably remember the last time that I did a cooking segment, it was all about macro-friendly foods. On this occasion, that's not going to be the case because I'm going to bake a cheesecake, a baked cheesecake. And often people wonder why you can have an uncooked and a cooked cheesecake. The difference is obviously using eggs. On this occasion, I'm going to use eggs, which is really encourage a real rich flavour to your cheesecake. I'm a bit of a foodie, to be honest, which is a shame for a bodybuilder, but I'm making this for my friend. Wait till this down a wee bit. I'm going to make this for my friend who is an absolute cheesecake fiend from the gym. She had cheesecake all the way through her prep, and she believes that Tinderbox does the best cheesecake in Glasgow. I'm going to right that wrong and make a point that Joe makes the best cheesecake. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is obviously prepare my base for my cheesecake. So for that, I'm going to need my very trusty scales, and I want to improvise and use one of these, which is zip bags from Tesco. The reason that I use this is because if you don't get your digestives cracked properly, your base kind of looks quite poor. So I'm going to use 200 grams of digestive biscuits, and I'm going to try and resist temptation to have some myself, which, trust me, isn't easy in the off season. Let me get the thing open first. I've actually trained today. If you didn't watch the video before this, you've seen that I actually trained chest, so I'm not just a fat foodie. Okay, so we said 200 grams. 50, 125, 187, 200. Perfect. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop these biscuits inside the Ziploc bag, and then you have the best part when you get to smash them up. Now, as you normally know, I get the kids in my school to cook with me as well, and the reason for that is it gives them life skills for the future, but also for me, gives them great satisfaction in doing this sort of stuff. Please make sure that when you go to crack your digestives, make sure that you get all the air out first. Otherwise, as soon as you go to start cracking this, the digestives will go everywhere. If you watch contemporary videos with proper chefs, they will use a rolling pin, but since this is a no-nonsense segment, I'll just punch it and use my hands. So, you'll see so far what we've got is the base for our cheesecake. Very easily looks like some sort of drug substance that you take to or bring back from Colombia. 200 grams of that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to get our butter. Now, I've got full fat English butter. For that, I'm going to need 75 grams. But knowing me, always like to use an extra wee bit. So we're going to use 125 grams of our butter, and I'm going to very gently melt the butter on the hob. And I'm also going to use a little bit of that to grease my cake tin too. So 56. Scales are amazing. 85. Sometimes you get the butter that's already got the pre-measured sections of it, which help a lot. Right, that's 120, so that's going straight on the hob. I'm going to melt off the butter just now. Now, my cake tin is just a standard cake tin, but you need to make sure that you've got the popper at the side. so that you can release the cheesecake at the end. What I did find in Tesco today, which was brilliant, was a cooking liner. So rather than using baking parchment paper, which I would normally use, this thing's actually reusable. So, here it's here, that was quite good. We try not to burn our butter as well. Nobody wants disgusting butter in it as well. So, this is the parchment paper I'm going to pop inside as well, which is, believe it or not, washable and reusable if you take the sticky bit off it. So, yeah, that's going to go in after I put a little bit of butter in my pan. So, there goes my cooking liner. Right, I don't have a brush, so I'm going to improvise. Teaspoon. A little bit of the butter. Then I use the back of the teaspoon. Just to spread it out. Now, reason for doing that, any non-cookies knowing this, just to make sure that our cake doesn't stick. We're also going to use the parchment paper as well, but then when the parchment paper comes off, obviously to make sure we don't have any issues with that, we use the fats from the butter as a grease. So there we go, that's that bit done. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to line the parchment paper down on the cake tin. So parchment paper, that's going in now. I'm just going to round it off, because naturally what will happen is it'll come over the sides and stuff. Right, once I've done that, I'm going to add the best part, which is my digestives, and I'm going to add the digestives to my melting butter. Now, you might think yourself actually that it might not come off because there's a lot of digestives, not a lot of butter, but persevere with it and it will mould together. So, I'm going to bring you over so you can see the next part. Here we go. Moving over. Right, I'll keep it here. Right, so our butter is almost ready. I'm going to break that down a little bit. Right, that's our butter ready. And the fun part, adding in the digestives. Now this, remember, is going to make a real beautiful base for our cheesecake. So I've taken the butter off the heat now, and if you look at it just now, I'll flip it round so you can have a wee look at it. Don't know if you can see that. It looks as though there's not enough butter to moisten, but just keep stirring. And honestly, the butter being full fat as well, you know, it will get all the way through. Keep going, persevere. It smells amazing. Honestly, that's the only negative thing about not having smell-o-vision. You can smell these things. One thing I did enjoy was making cakes and various things during prep. I don't know why, I wasn't allowed to have them myself, making trifles for my mum, and then cakes for my friends that were finishing off in shows before me. And I think the one that came out the top was the salted caramel chocolate pots. That seemed to be everyone's favourite. Right, I'm going to move the camera back over. Ooh. Right, back in position. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put our base which is amazing, smells incredible, into a parchment, so it's going to go in here, into a cake tin. Put it up there. Not that you'll be able to see it, to be honest, but Move that bit out of the way. Oh man, it smells so good. It was quite funny when I was in Tesco today buying the ingredients. A wee old dear stopped me, and obviously not looking the cooking type. She said to me about the basin that I bought. She was like, "Oh, excuse me son, what is it you're baking? Or are you doing some baking?" I said, "Yeah, I am." She was like, "What are you baking?" I said, "A cheesecake." She was like, "Oh, you might need a bigger bowl." I was like, no, I'm sure I'll be absolutely fine. So, there's always somebody looking after you. Right, first inspection, I would say, we could actually do with some more digestives, actually. So, I'm going to get my bag back. I'm going to crack some more digestives, and I'll get back to you when I'm doing this bit. Right, another batch of digestives popped in here. I quite clearly used the biggest cake tin I could ever use, so it doesn't help matters. This person who's not on prep, might add, but I sincerely hope they've got a cheat day or something for them to use to have an excuse to eat all of this, because there's absolutely no way this is going to fit anybody's macros, that's for sure. Right, I'm going to pat that down. Oh, it smells amazing. Looks so good so far as well. Right, patting that down. It's going to be the base of our cheesecake. Now, the next thing we've got to do, put that to one side, take our bowl, and then we're going to add our next section of our ingredients, which is our eggs, our cream cheese, and our vanilla. So I'm going to take 900 grams of cheese, which we have here, 200 gram pots. Yep, going to use the whole thing. One. Diet's well and truly out the window with this, I tell you. You know, thankfully, I've not had all my macros today, so when I do have little tidbits, I don't need to feel so bad. It is only 7 o'clock right now. Right, that's 2. A wee bit in this one, sneaking out the corner. Right, 400. This one's hopeless. Full fat, soft cheese. 600. And then this one was a bigger tub to hit our 900 grams of soft cheese. So obviously this is going to be the best part, given that this is the cream cheese filling. Right, if you ever struggle to get things off, another spoon scoops it out. Oh, right. It's not alcohol, promise, it's a can of Monster. Right, so in that goes. The next thing that we're going to add to that is, we don't have vanilla, so I'm going to add a tablespoon no, it's quite strong, teaspoon of Madagascan vanilla extract. To that I'm also going to add 3 eggs and 2 yolks. I'm going to use the back of my knife to get this. Wow, so much cheese. Really, so much cheese. I'm just going to give that a wee stir just now because the vanilla's sitting on it. Now bear in mind I said I was going to recruit some of my tasty treats from my snack drawer as well, so that'll be going in. Right, here we go. This is the reason it makes it different from a baked and a non-baked cheesecake, is the introduction of eggs. So 3 eggs, that's full eggs, then 2 yolks. Now, for anyone that's not sure, I'm so used to using breaking eggs into egg whites. On this occasion I'm doing the opposite, so I'm going to keep the egg white because I'll use that later. Transfer it side to side. There we go. 1 yolk. This is where I would probably use a couple of yolks. Try and not crack it. Or splitting the egg from the white. We don't want to be yolking about it. I know, terrible. Never been a comedian in my life, to be honest. Right, so that's our eggs going in. And then the next thing we need is caster sugar. Caster sugar obviously, which makes it sweet. Now, if you want to have a wee look at the concoction that we have thus far, here's where we're at right now. Okay, so probably about halfway through the process. What I am going to do is I'm going to use my hand blender food processor to bind it all together once I put sugar in as well. So, to combine all the ingredients properly. A lot sticking to the spoon just now. We're going to add 200 grams of golden caster sugar to it as well. Once I get all of this off. I did say use a knife. No, I didn't. I said use a spoon. So, using a teaspoon now. Getting the rest off. Right, so in that goes. Golden caster sugar's next. Back on the scales. 200 grams of this bad boy. Anybody on prep, most definitely look away now. Yep, still going. Virtually half the bag. Almost there. 180, 200. There we go. Right. Now, secret ingredient to this as well is going to be some sour cream. Now I'm not going to add too much sour cream, 200 millilitres, which is just short of a full tub of that. I'm a little bit worried because it's a bit watery. I don't know if it should be like that, to be honest, but we'll wait and see. I'm just checking to make sure I'm doing this right. Nigella's telling me how to do it here. Preheat the oven, 180 degrees. Right, that's that done. Blah 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 blah, separate, blah 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 blah. You won't keep for a week in the fridge. Vanilla, I've done that. Add the sugar. Right, it is saying I've got to put this in the fridge. Right, next bit, 200 grams, 200 millilitres. Don't know why my ovens make a silly noise. Certainly doesn't sound healthy. Right, 200 millilitres of sour cream. Wee extra drop for good measure. There we go. That's all done. So, the next part of the process, I did say we were going to use this bad boy to blend it all together. Get this done, and I'll get back to you. Hi guys, so I'm now putting a full jar of Meridian peanut butter through my cheesecake topping because I wasn't really 100% sure what flavour I was going to make this, but I knew that my friend's an absolute peanut butter fiend, so peanut butter was always going to be involved there, and I think I'm going to put a little bit of Nutella in there as well, just for good measure. If you're going to go all out, you may as well do it right. So that's also getting added to the recipe, and then I've got two bits of Reese's that are going to go into it as well. The topping now looks phenomenal. Honestly, it looks incredible. So I've got Nutella. She's not getting any of my Lotus Biscoff, that's for sure. It's far too good. So a little bit of Nutella in there as well. And that bin is really doing my head in. Perks of being a chef. I don't have a whisk, so I go old school, just use a fork. Good workout for my right forearm, if nothing else. The cheesecake's now taking a light brown complexion, but I'm not kidding when I say this. It looks phenomenal. I was going to say I just need to hope that it rises properly, but that being said, it's not. There's no such thing as hoping. It's just about knowing yourself that everything's going to go well. So the next part we've got to do is we've got to get some tin foil, because we've got to bake the cake in a water bath, and I bet you that's the one thing I was going to say I'd struggle to find, but I've got it here. I've got some Reese's cups that will also go into it as well, but that's for later on. So I'm going to take the big pan, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up just now so the tin foil is inside the pan. When I put the cake tin inside, I'm going to boil the kettle, and once I've done that, it makes it easier for me to slowly cook the cake. You've got to be really careful with the cake as well, because it's very easy for it to crack, which we don't want to happen. The cheesecake base is still in the fridge just now, it's just setting. So hopefully, this is actually my first time making cheesecake, so I'm hoping that all goes well. It says here, boil a kettle full of water, roasting tin with the cheesecake on the top of the oven, pour in the hot water, put the cheesecake round outside, into the oven, bake for 10 minutes at 180, then turn the oven down to 140 and cook for an hour. Then turn it off, allow it to cool, and then it will finally go into the fridge for 6 hours, so tomorrow it should be perfect. Exciting times! Okay guys, so what I've done now is I've put my tin foil around my cheesecake baking tray, and I'm going to now add the topping. Now this thing has been a bit annoying, so I'm just going to try and move that out the way a wee bit. So, oh man, this looks delightful. I hope that seeing this drop does it absolute justice, because although it's raw right now, it smells phenomenal. Right, I'm just very carefully brushing it all the way to the edge. Still got lots more to go. I'm just making sure that the cheesecake is going right in to all the corners. It's covering all sections, and it looks, well, to me, I'm no Michelin star chef, but certainly looks good to me. I'm now going to fill the tray up with hot water. This just helps to regulate the heat of the cake, and this is where it will cook for 10 minutes at 180, and then for 50 minutes at 140. So in she goes. "10 minutes, 180, 50 minutes, 140, then I'll let you have a wee look at it." Okay, it sounds very Scottish, that one. Okay guys, just to let you know, that's me taking out the cheesecake from the oven. It's been sitting resting for quite some time, so I'll let you have a wee look at it just now. This is the cheesecake at the present moment. Hopefully you can see that. I also put an extra wee one in, which doesn't have a base on it, and this is how this looks so far. So again, this is still quite warm. You can have a look, there you go. And that's going to make a separate cheesecake that I'm going to make. So I'm going to leave them for another hour and a half or so, just to cool outside. Then they'll go in the fridge, and hopefully you'll get to see the finished product tomorrow. Guys, okay, so the cake from yesterday has been in the fridge overnight, chilling, and let's have a final look. Oh, the anticipation. Here we go. Oh man. Obviously before I would serve it, I would thaw it for at least an hour or so before it. Yeah, probably an hour, 45 minutes to an hour before I'd serve it, because the chocolate that I've put around the outside of it is starting to marble a little bit. So I'll let you have a look at it now. This is the finished article. There we go, hope you can see that. So this is a peanut butter, Nutella, Oreo with variety chocolate stuff filling around the outside as well, with a crunchy nut base. It's my cheesecake. Hopefully we'll get to see pictures on my Instagram of what it's like once I cut it up. So there you go guys, cheesecake number 1 done.